Hi, Kimball Bullington, and part 2 of our critical thinking assignment help. So I said this was in the hint that I gave in the instructions. I said that it was similar to a total cost problem. And we did this back in module 4. Now we called it a break even because we looked at total cost versus revenue, and that is break even. So but let's take a look at that assignment again. So here it was, the M&M assignment. I've already filled out some of the data that we need, so I've created the variable costs. And I always like to show my work rather than just do a calculation off screen on some calculator, which may be a mistake, and I can't look at your mistake. Here, not only can I look at your mistake, but you can too. You can see, maybe catch where you made some mistakes. So I like to do that where it's appropriate. And then the fixed costs are just over here. You're just referring to this cell where the fixed costs are. The variable costs are referring to this cell and then multiplying it times the units. Now we haven't calculated we haven't created any units yet. How do we know how many units to do? In our case here, we want to make sure that it includes the break-even point. And the break-even point we calculated, had a formula for that, and so I want to include this and have a little bit more. So I had 26 cells here, and I looked at, first divided 26 into 700,000, some number bigger than this, to give a little separation. Came close enough to 25,000. I decided let's just use 25,000 per cell or per line. So we'll start at 0 and we'll increase by 25,000. Once you've done just 2 of those, I can highlight that cell, those 2 cells, copy them, and that'll Excel will automatically increment by 25,000 each, all the way down. And so that gives me enough to make a plot. Now I'm going to plot it pretty much like we would have plotted it in this assignment, and then I'm going to modify that to make it look more like the critical thinking assignment. So I highlighted all of this. Go up here, insert charts. I'm going to do a line chart, not a stacked line. That makes no sense. I want to, because you don't have any crossovers. So I want this 2D line. Once I have it, and I'm not going to edit the titles and the axis titles. You need to do that, but I'm not going to do that here. I have more lines than I need. Now I'm going to start deleting some of them. So I'll go down here. This is the units. Actually, if you sort of hover over it, it'll say units. And so I don't want to just plot the number of units. There's no help in that. So I just delete. This is the, see, hover over it again. That's the fixed cost. Not plotting fixed costs. I want total cost. So I'm deleting that. This is the variable cost. I don't need that. I delete that. And what I'm left with is total cost and total revenue, which is what I need. If I'm doing a break-even point, that's what I need to get this crossover. You're going to have 3 lines. All 3 of them are going to be total cost. So you have total cost for alternative A, total cost for B, total cost for C. And you may have to play with the numbers a little bit before you see where those crossovers happen. And some of them happen very early. So instead of units for your problem, you're going to have probability. And the probability is going to vary from 0 to 1, because 1 is 100% probable. And so you're going to have to decide what to make the increments. Now the increments, you want to include the crossover points, but you don't want the crossover points to be a tiny bit of the graph. You want them to be in the middle, or somewhere near the middle-ish. Just a hint. some of the crossover points are going to be in the vicinity of 1%. And so if you have 1%, let's just say, what if you had 10%? Well, I don't want to plot from 0 to 100% if all my action is happening back here in the first 10%. Maybe I want to plot from 0 to 20% or 0 to 30%. But you calculate the numbers and see what happens. So again, you're not doing units. You're going to do probability when you create your chart. And you don't need revenue. You don't need revenue because you have 3 alternatives that have the same material costs and the same value later on. So we're only interested in costs, so fixed costs, variable costs, total costs, not revenue, and instead of units, probability. Other than that, it's going to look a lot like this. So that's hint number 2, video number 2, and finally in video number 3, I'm going to create something sort of like this. Thanks.